Hello again. I struggle to connect with people. Can you believe it? It's like my heart longs for meaningful relations with people, but I just lack the know-how or tools or something. I often feel like I'm playing catch-up to everyone else who just seems to get it, and it's disheartening and sad. It makes me feel like I'm a fundamentally flawed human being who will just never know true fulfillment or satisfaction in their lifetime. But then I see a funny joke and it's like, whoa!
Like things I've been through, it's like very ingrained, you know? It's hard to like break out of that. Like instinctively I was like,
Mamma mia!
Comedy's just one of those things, man. It's one of those things that feel core to my being, that when I think about enough, I start to get emotional because of how much of an important role it plays in my life. It somehow has the potential to ease the mind, but still simultaneously stimulate and excite the mind. It's fulfilling to participate in. I love when other people make me laugh, and I love making other people laugh. It's like an infinite feedback loop of good vibes. One of the most fulfilling experiences I get to have as a human being is when I'm truly present in the moment with someone, exchanging laughs back and forth with one another. I lose myself, and for a time, I'm totally absorbed in this energy exchange.
0% of anything. Did you take the... You didn't even savor the peelies.
Comedy feels like one of the only ways I really know how to connect with people, and sometimes feels like it's the closest thing I'll ever know to unconditional intimacy with another human being.
Did we ever leave the dark age, or did our eyes just adjust?
Well, with that being said, now I'm going to talk about two dudes making shit up for 3 hours and why it's my favorite thing I've ever seen in my entire life. Middleditch and Schwartz is a 3-part Netflix comedy special in which Thomas Middleditch and Benjamin Schwartz perform long-form improvisational comedy for roughly 52 minutes per installment, which has got to be some kind of magic because they all feel 10 minutes max. Maybe a short 9.
Yeah, she's the short 9, sir.
For the uninitiated, improvisational comedy, or improv for short, is a type of performance focused around comedy where nothing is rehearsed, written, or planned, and the performers make up everything they say or do on the spot. And if that sounds difficult, it's because it is. It's a legitimate craft and discipline that takes years of practice, coaching, and training to become proficient in.
Nothing will get you good more than practice and working with a coach and getting reps.
You didn't think I could make an improv video without talking about Brennan, did you? He is my husband, after all. He's my husband. We're married. We're happily married. We have 2 dogs and a kid. So I used to be really into stand-up when I was younger, and I still watch it occasionally, but I find myself gravitating towards improv ever since I discovered what it was. I find myself seeking out improv far more than I do stand-up comedy. I think it's because every time I watch stand-up, I can't help but think in the back of my mind that everything I'm witnessing has been said 100 times in preparation for this exact moment.
And I hope there's some surprises for you, or some, Jesus, sorry. It's a good start. I hope there's some...
To knock the water over, yeah, but you all thought it was an accident, but...
And that thought can't help but influence my reception to that content. The stand-up comedian may laugh with the audience, feeding off their energy, but that doesn't change the fact that everything that's being said has been specially crafted to elicit a specific reaction from me. Like an old tower wizard, toiling away in his cauldron with Eye of Newt and fucking racial humor. I'm often just so aware of this illusion of immediacy that's created through rehearsal and performance. Whereas improv has no such illusion. We are witnessing the creation of these jokes in real time with the performers. We get to share in that creation, and it's raw and palpable. It's so genuine and exciting, and you can like feel the performers sharing in that excitement with you. They're often laughing just as much as the audience is.
My cousin was a veterinarian. It's not a big deal.
What's your cousin's name?
Huh? Ricardo. He makes it a pizza pie.
The improv performer doesn't have anything to hide behind, unlike scripted content. If I didn't write these videos beforehand, I'd be worried that I'd come off as meandering or unintelligible or boring. But in improv, there's no room for those insecurities. It would ruin the show. Those insecurities are actually learned away through the practice and discipline of improv. A disciplined improv performer doesn't worry about making any mistakes because in the improv teaching, there are no mistakes. Everything has to be rolled with. There's nothing wrong you can do because nothing is planned.
The whole idea is to just stay as open as possible. Any accident is welcome. Whatever happens, anybody can take any risk. And we're trying to create a narrative together.
When I get to witness really good improv, it's incredible. I have so much admiration and simultaneous jealousy at how fucking good they are. To help create a framework for why Middleditch and Schwartz works so well for me, let me introduce to you Brennan Lee Mulligan. An internet personality, content creator, my husband, dungeon master, and most relevant to this video, a longtime improv comedy enthusiast, performer, and coach.
I was really just hoping for a rocking horse.
Look at him go, it's my husband. In a conversation with 2 other creators about their thesis on comedy, Brennan's improv brain comes up with something that I'm going to be using to dissect the comedy of Middleditch and Schwartz.
A joke is a psychological construct, and it is interchangeable with what in improv you would call a move or a game move, right? It is a unit of comedy. right? Intended to produce laughter. A joke is a psychological construct which presents information. The information creates an assumption or expectation from the viewer or listener. A second piece of information is added that shatters and destroys the expectation in a completely confounding or surprising way without contradicting the initial piece of information, right, and still proceeding logically from it. So there is a bit of magicianship, there's a bit of sleight of hand, because you need to know where the audience is going to look and have the card not be there.
So now I'm going to map out this formula of a joke using Brennan's framework and then apply it to the improv of Middleditch and Schwartz. Okay, so firstly, a joke has to present information that creates an expectation. That expectation is then subverted in a surprising way that logically follows the premise of the joke. So at its simplest, there are 4 elements that are necessary for a joke to land: an expectation and a subversion that has to logically follow and be surprising. So to help demonstrate this, I'm going to break down a joke that I found on Google by looking up the words short joke. A bear walks into a bar and asks the bartender, can I get a whiskey and soda? The bartender asks, why the big pause? To which the bear replies, I don't know, I was born with him. Now I'm going to repeat the joke, except removing one necessary component from the equation to demonstrate why they're all so necessary. I'll get a whiskey and soda. Why the big pause? I don't know, I was born with him. We don't know that it's a bear. That could just be some guy. It doesn't make, you know. A bear walks into a bar and asks the bartender, I'll get a whiskey and soda. Why the big pause? And the bear says, I don't know. There's no subversion there. They might as well. It feels so empty, doesn't it? A bear walks into a bar and tells the bartender, I'll get a whiskey and soda. Bartender asks, why the big pause? To which the bear responds, English is my second language. It doesn't subvert our expectation in a surprising or exciting way. It just subverts it, and it's kind of like, I guess that logically follows, but it's not particularly funny. Bear walks into a bar, asks the bartender, can I get a whiskey and soda? Why the big pause? No, because Attack on Titan is overrated. And you're like, what? That doesn't logically follow what happened. What I'm trying to demonstrate is that all of these elements are necessary in order for the joke to actually land. Now, using this framework, let's look at an improv scene from Harmontown. Episode, I don't fucking know, there's so many of them. I'm gonna say this again later, but I encourage you to watch the full bit on your own because I promise it's gonna be a lot less funny as I'm explaining it to you. There's a link at the top of the description. Go watch that now if you want to. Or not. What do I know? I'm just some fucking weirdo on the internet. You don't have to listen to me. In the clip, Dan recounts an experience he had with a stubborn Uber driver who asks for Dan's phone to put in a promotional code as they arrive at a hotel.
I was like, I don't want to give you my phone. I don't know you. It's my phone.
After the story, everyone on stage improvises a scene based off of Dan's anecdote. Rob plays the role of a pushy hotel attendant who wants to help Dan with his luggage while simultaneously trying to give his phone to the Uber driver, much to grumpy Dan's dismay.
Please, sir, we want to get this vehicle out of the way. If you could just give me your phone so the Uber driver can punch it. It's a promotional code. If you could give me your phone so the Uber driver...
Jerome, leave Mr. Harmon at peace, please. He's a valued guest here at the Redberry, Jerome.
I am sorry.
We then see Jeff introduce a commanding hotel manager who takes issue with Rob's behavior and asks to speak with him in his office.
Jerome, can I talk to you in my office for just 1 minute?
Notice how our minds automatically use this information to create an expectation about why he wants him in the office. It's because he's angry, right?
Come into my office. All right, Jerome, Uber driver?
Yes.
Did you get the phone?
He wouldn't give me the phone.
Get the phone!
So here you go. Our expectation is subverted in a way that logically follows the premise and is surprising. We expected Jeff to be mad at Rob for harassing Dan, but really he just wanted the phone. And when we apply this framework to Middleditch and Schwartz, it happens, but something simultaneously really interesting also occurs. Well, this is part of the video where I urge everyone who hasn't seen Middleditch and Schwartz yet to go do that before I ruin everything. I checked the law, and it's literally a crime not to. Let's start with the first scene from the first special. Ben's character Dave is getting married, and Thomas's character Corey is his best man. Corey has pressing news to tell Dave, but hesitates in fear of making him even more anxious than he already is.
I just found out. I probably shouldn't tell you this. No, go. Come on. Is it gonna fuck me up a little bit or no?
So he doesn't tell him.
I don't know. I'm not gonna tell you. Okay? All right, good talk.
So the expectation is that Corey is going to tell Dave something important, and then the subversion is that he doesn't, right? Well, it logically follows, but it isn't particularly surprising. You'll notice that the actual laugh comes after Thomas says, Alright, good talk. Let me propose a different reading of the scene that makes a lot more sense to me, and kind of hits at some of the core of what makes Middleditch and Schwartz so special to me. So as the audience, we're aware that we're watching improv and that the performers are making everything up on the spot as they go. Because of the nature of entertainment, we have this expectation that the performers are operating in service of us, trying to captivate and engage us by creating a compelling narrative in order to get us emotionally invested in the performance, especially in the context of long-form improv.
When we're telling one story, we're telling a linear story, well, not oftentimes linear, but we're telling a full story, a piece, that we want you to get invested in the characters enough that you care what happens to them. And then when Thomas or I do something funny with the idea of what you're expecting, it kind of brings you up. That's absolutely something we're playing with.
So when Thomas the performer says, "I got something important to tell you," the character, "Actually, I'm not going to tell you," good talk, the subversion is that the performer is just going to leave that narrative thread untied, not serving the audience for the sake of the character's peace of mind. It subverts the expectation of the performer creating compelling narrative for us to get attached to. But it logically follows the character's motivations and mind state. I think what feels so funny about when he says, "Okay, good talk," is actually the acknowledgement that, yep, I'm just going to leave you all hanging. I'm supposed to be in service of entertaining you, but I'm just going to leave you unresolved. So when he changes his mind again and says, actually, I am going to tell you, it's funny.
I trust you. I trust you. I actually am going to tell you.
Because even though the character seemed to have made up his mind, Thomas's improv performer mind ultimately still wants to be in service to the audience. And he's even aware of our expectation that he's supposed to be creating compelling narratives.
It'd be pretty tough to follow along with the narrative if we didn't take the time to, even if it's an absurd character, give you some kind of emotional stakes to it all.
And by subverting that expectation, leaving that loose thread feeling unresolved, he knows that that's going to be funny. But to also ultimately still tie that narrative thread, he's having his cake and eating it at the same time.
I suppose to turn our backs on it now would be unsatisfying.
Yes. Talking about meta humor in the show is really complicated. There's so many avenues for analysis. They all keep looping back into each other. I hope I haven't lost any of you. This is a lasso. I'm going to lasso your attention. I'm going to bring it back, and bring it back, and bring it back. Breaking the fourth wall isn't shied away from at all. In fact, it's utterly embraced and core to the performance.
Part of what our show is, we can break the fourth wall. We can kind of do whatever we want.
This magical thing happens that I've never really seen or experienced in anything before. The performer's motivations and actions influences the character's motivations and actions, and then those in turn also influence the performers, and it keeps going back and forth. It's an infinite loop, the mind. When two characters are meeting each other, they do this close handshake, and Ben breaks character to fix Thomas's mic.
Hit your microphone a little bit. Oh no, I hit your microphone a lot of it. All right, someone will come on stage if it fucked everything up. I think I fixed it. Don't touch it. Hey, what's up, man?
Then to avoid further hitting the mic, they just continue doing this handshake throughout the rest of the special, and it's like, did we just watch the birth of that handshake, or was that handshake always existing within the canon of these two characters' dynamic? When the character who is established to be unconvincingly pretending to be an American is asked what's his name, Thomas the performer stutters, coming up with a name, which Ben calls out within the narrative, and it adds to the character's unconvincingness.
Yes.
And your American name?
My American name, my it's always been my name.
You shouldn't have to think so hard.
When Jason the alien boy is about to be introduced by Ben, Thomas has no idea what the fuck Ben's doing or what that is or what he's supposed to do with this new character.
This is gonna throw a real wrench in the spokes here, I feel like. I almost don't want to meet this guy.
At this point, he doesn't even know it's an alien. He just knows Ben is doing a weird thing. He doesn't want anything to do with it. Thomas says in character as Stanley that he wants nothing to do with that alien thing.
I'm not going to justify him. That's fucking someone else's job.
But importantly, he says it in character as Stanley. And when Thomas remembers that Nigel exists, he points it out in character as Nigel, which leads to Nigel figuring out what to do with Jason.
Just a quick pause. Yes? I'm still here. And I know exactly what he wants. You're a lonely little alien boy called Jason. And Nigel figured it out. We all forgot about Nigel, and I'm the one figuring it out. Even though I didn't want to figure it out, I wanted nothing to do with this fucking thing.
So this doesn't make sense within the fiction of the world. Nigel hadn't established whether he did or didn't want anything to do with it. We're hearing Thomas's voice break through that character's. It's really Thomas saying, I didn't want anything to do with Ben's weird shit, and now I'm the one who's trying to create a narrative thread with it.
The alien was because in the law school interview, she said that aliens existed in her city.
And I didn't remember that. For the whole show, I was like, why the fuck is Ben an alien? That's why as the character, I was like, I don't want to open this door because I don't understand what's happening.
There's so many little moments like this, and they're an absolute joy to witness happen in real time. Part 1, Dark Details. Yeah, this video has a numbered list of topics. Every video essay has, even if we don't outright announce it for your dumb baby brain to anchor its undeveloped attention to. Put down your phone every once in a minute, why don't you? I'm trying. One of my favorite things in improv is this thing Thomas talks about called dark details.
Oh, sorry, dark detail.
To my understanding, a dark detail is a theme that one of the improvisers introduces into the scene that has the potential to bum out the audience and the improvisers even. I don't know if that's its official name, but it's such an interesting guideline in improv, because even if you don't know what a dark detail is, you can feel the way that it affects the atmosphere of a scene once one's introduced.
Now there's a dude I can get along with. Bring him on the show, because he's also a notorious woman beater. Horrible guy. He's got a torture dungeon, and this is going so dark.
It creates this black hole of discomfort that there's no escape from.
I'm a gambling addict, no thank you. It's a debilitating disease, I cannot help it. Alright, you fucking came to a casino, don't give me the thing.
God, I can't believe I let you wander in there. I'm your sponsor. I mean, it's... You know what? I quit. I'm so sorry.
No.
You should sponsor me or somebody better than me.
No. This isn't your I messed up, okay? I quit, alright? I'm the one that messed up.
No,
okay, you're not bad. You're not bad.
Failed you. I'm crap.
No.
I'm crap.
Could you feel that uncomfortable atmosphere created by the introduction of that dark detail? It wasn't particularly funny, and any audience member who's afflicted by addiction or has family members that are afflicted by addiction is probably going to feel pretty disheartened. And once you've introduced a dark detail, it's really difficult to shake off that energy. So naturally, here's Brennan pulling us out of that black hole like an absolute champ.
I'm crap.
No.
I'm crap.
No, you're not hard.
I quit. I God quit. I blew it.
Though it's rare, in this show, when a dark detail does happen, Middleditch and Schwartz are quick to point it out immediately and talk about how uncomfortable they feel.
This character makes me nervous. Why? Because it's just, I'm worried about it being too real.
They're so in touch with their feelings and the feeling of the general scene. They're able to call it out immediately, and that simple act of calling it out makes that situation almost benign. I want to end this talking about what I think is the glue that holds all the goofs, meta humor, and subversions together. I don't have a word for it, so I'm just gonna call it heart. Heart is the emotional dimension that Ben and Thomas inject into the characters, creating emotional investment and catharsis once that investment is resolved.
Thomas and I will have it in our heads if we have something developing, like, oh, if we could pay off blank, if we could find a way to make this character arc happen, we really do try to pay that stuff off.
It's when Sebastian helps his brother even though he was just rejected by him.
Hey, you know what? Even if I'm not your best man, I can help you out, man. Hey, thanks, Sebastian. But
it's when Kathleen has to choose true love.
I'm telling you, the only way you can make your decision is love, and not consequence.
It's when Roby or Toby, whatever, tells his dad that he loves him.
You're a cool dad. You mean that, pal? Yeah, I've always respected you, Dad.
I've tolerated you.
I just want you to know that I think you're the best, and if I've been a little bit weird or anything, I'll be better. I'm growing up. I'm the youngest, okay?
Yeah.
Fads come and go, but my love for you is always going to stay the same.
It's sincerity. It's vulnerability. It's connection. It's heart. It's what I spent hours trying to capture in my videos and years trying to cultivate in my life. What often feels like an impossible task. And Middleditch and Schwartz created out of nothing in an instant. It looks like magic, and it feels unbelievable. And it's probably why I set out to try and dissect and understand what is that. How do I get that? Give it to me!
Any scraps for me?
And I'm really glad I took that time to do this, because it's not about some intrinsic quality that you can just connect with people. It's a skill, something that you can learn and practice. Brennan Lee Mulligan wasn't always an improv wizard, and Middleditch and Schwartz didn't come out the womb doing good improv. We're only seeing the result of a lifetime of practice.
Not only was it a summation of over 20 years each of doing improv, I'm doing improv since 8th grade.
And it really demonstrates the beauty of something impressive that's made to look effortless. And it's because it is effortless. It just takes time and commitment, both of which everyone has at their disposal. The trick is to not beat ourselves up in the interim of that development.
To become great at improv, there's books you can get. You can get the UCB manual. You can get, Truth in Comedy. You can watch. There's a bunch of great improv resources online you can watch. And I can tell you the fundamentals of like, listen to your scene partner or like say yes and, right? I can do that. But the academic understanding of listening to your scene partner is not what you're looking to develop. You are looking to understand listening to your scene partner in your nervous system, like your non-central nervous system. You need it in your muscle memory. You need it to be second nature. And that only happens with lots and lots and lots of boring practice.
As of recording this, I was literally invited to a new friend's house for dinner yesterday, and now this is how I'm going to show up to them. I'm literally ready to go. I'm just finishing recording this. So if you'll excuse me, I've got some preemptive crying to go do in anticipation of me fucking up everything somehow. Whoops, dark detail.
I'm gonna throw something out there just because I think I know the answer. If you had the opportunity to kiss your mom, would you?
Yes.
No, kiss.
Oh, no.
Kiss.
Yes.